Marvel Snap cards for January 2026 have been datamined, and this is looking like it could be the strongest season that we've had in a very long time. I want to dive into it, do a quick overview of each of these cards, and help you plan your tokens. We don't have infinite tokens. It's very important to not FOMO into bad cards like Spider-Man Noir that just came out this week, so you can save up when there's months like these where it looks like there could be a lot of very good cards. So, without further ado, let's dive right into it. So this looks like it's going to be the season pass card, and before I keep talking here, these are data mines. They're subject to change. I've seen other sources where there might be even more cards coming in, but this is a good place to start. This appears to be the season pass card, Dragon of the Moon. Dragon of the Moon is a 3-cost, 2-power card that says, on reveal, steal 1 power from even costing cards in all hands. So the first thing I think when I read this is Luke Cage is getting a nerf. If you look at the release of Spider-Punk this past season and the way they had to tone down Mercury, even though Move has been such a dominant deck before that, I realistically don't see them releasing a season pass card with an afflict, steal keyword without doing something to Luke Cage. So that's the first thing that comes out. Otherwise, this looks like, this could easily play for 3-6, 3-9. Like, there are so many relevant even costed cards. Like, 2 costs are so powerful, like Merlin, Iron Patriot, Sam Wilson, Madam Web. 4 costs have become less and less, meta warping with the, change in stats from Enchantress to 5/8, the drop in prominence of Shang-Chi. Zabu is really just being used in, kind of Cull Obsidian-y variants of like Searcher Scar decks. 6 costs, those are out there, but really this looks like an interesting on-rate card. You're going to get some information about how many even cost cards your opponent has, because okay, I've stolen 2 power from my 2 even cost cards, but this is a 3/7. That means my opponent has that many even cost cards. It's not really super valuable information, but man, as a season pass card, this is going to be really interesting. If a lot of people are going to be able to get this, just the mirrors and the constant affliction coming in. I don't like when Cassandra Nova comes down. Most of my draws for the match or have that little debuffed power. Imagine season pass cards doing that. So Dragon of the Moon looks like it's definitely going to have a Luke Cage nerf. That is my strongest feeling after looking at Dragon of the Moon. But cool season pass card. Love the dragons. Should be very interesting. Lockheed. I'm excited about this one. Lockheed is a 2-cost, 1-power card that says end of turn. If you played a 1-cost card this turn, afflict an enemy card here with -2 power. Now the way this reads, this makes me think it's not every time you play a 1-cost card, so this isn't likely going to be a bounce card, but for like one instance of it. So even if you play 3, if you play 1, Lockheed's still triggering the -2 power. I see a lot of application for this card. I see this going, assuming it's using the term card and not character. So that means to me it can be used with skills, Merlin spells, Deafening Core, which just came out. Maybe by this point, Move has been nerfed, so we can get Werewolf by Night back in by virtue of Mercury falling off in play rate. But this is a really cool. Again, this also tells me Luke Cage is definitely getting nerfed. We've got multiple afflict cards here. But I love this. I love this kind of scaler that's just poof, poof, puffing out damage. It's encouraging you to play 1-cost cards. I think early on, if you're a new player in this game and you've just gotten into Series 3, you might have fond memories of playing the Khazar Blue Marvel Zoo decks and then getting hit by Killmonger for the first time and just feeling a deep, deep pain. I like that it's encouraging you to play 1-cost cards. I like that this could go into, Merlin Werewolf by Night decks. This could maybe give Zoo a little bit of a boost. I like the negative power from it. Just all in all, this is very good. I don't think this is an Invisible Woman First Steps or Jocasta card. It might be. I mean, typically you're not playing your Hydra Bob. You might be playing your Hydra Bob in last turn. I'm changing my mind here. Maybe this does do something for that. If you're playing down, your final turn is Havoc and Hydra Bob, and you're letting your Sunspot and everything else sync up. Yeah, this is a really cool card. I can't help but feel like this is something you're definitely going to want to pick up. This seems really strong, has a good application to a lot of different deck archetypes, and yeah, this is a great space. I love that they're exploring stuff like this and not just doing destroy, discard, move. Just like this could be its own. This doesn't feel like an Ajax toxic kind of card. This doesn't feel like it goes into those kind of lists. This feels like its own thing, or a unique supporting player in other roles. Very into Lockheed. Majestic Wingbeat. This is probably a skill. I don't think they're printing this as a 1/0. On reveal, give the leftmost card in your hand +2 power. If it's 5 cost or higher, -1 cost too. So at base, this is a 1/2 that doesn't take up space on the board. You could synergize this with Lockheed. Again, I immediately jumped to like Werewolf by Night, bouncing things around there. I wonder if we're ever going to hit a point of inflection where suddenly Nicholas Scratch becomes a relevant card because there's so many skills. I mean, at some point, it has to happen, right? Right? I guess if they change him to ongoing, maybe, but that seems incredibly broken. But we're not talking about Nicholas Scratch. Majestic Wingbeat. So on rate, it's giving you, it's a 1/2 if you plan on playing that card. And the reason leftmost tech seems important to me here is that typically as you're playing cards, if you drew like an Apocalypse earlier, you're playing this in discard for whatever reason, your high cost cards are naturally going to move towards the left of your hand as you play. So if this is your leftmost card, it's probably going to be a higher cost card, because if you have cheaper cost cards in your hand, on the left you're playing them, you're playing your Merlin, you're playing your Werewolf, you're playing your Deafening Chord, and those higher cost cards that you're not playing, you're going to naturally migrate to the left. So the likelihood that you have a 5 cost or higher in your hand, especially when we talk about a few of the other cards coming out. There are 2 other dragons we haven't mentioned yet that are 5 cost and seem like or higher and would love to be played early, especially Fang Foom, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Yeah, this seems like it is a hunger-like card where this wants to package with the other dragons that are coming out this season. And yeah, I mean, otherwise, like, I guess you're making your Legion into a 4 or 9. Like this of all the cards seems like something that they're trying to cook with the cards coming out this season versus enhancing existing archetypes. One of those is Shou-Lao the Undying. This card is a 5/10 with the text on reveal. Give the last character you played +2 power for each turn you played 2 or more cards. So again, with Majestic Wingbeat, this, if you hit this, it would be a 4/12. That's a very competitive stat line. Even 5/10, this is one of the biggest 5 drops. This is up there with Agamotto. Like Red Skull is technically the biggest, but it has such a downside unless you're removing it. This is a 5/10 with upside, and you can just see the synergy between this, Majestic Wingbeat, Lockheed. Lockheed's encouraging you to play a lot of lower cost cards. Majestic Wingbeat is reducing the cost of Shou-Lao. And what's very interesting with the text here is that it says, for each turn you played 2 or more cards. So it's not as restrictive as, let's say, Athena, where you need to play exactly 2 cards. If you're zooing out, if you're bouncing, you're playing a lot, you are giving this the opportunity to put out, I mean, this is easily 4 power if you're not playing a 1 card per turn kind of deck. This could easily be +6 even too. I don't see it likely getting much higher than that, but even just on rate, a 5/16 that is distributing 6 power into another location feels great. Even on a turn 6 of play, if you're dropping a demon and then a Shou-Lao, that is a 1/12 or a 1/10 demon and a 5/10. This feels pretty strong, especially if it hit with Majestic Wingbeat. As always, where these cards have very specific conditions that they set, we have to see how it plays. Like, on its face, this seems like, oh, this could be a cool card, playing this with a lot of my skills, or I'm playing this in a, I'm doing Victoria hand stuff and I'm hand dumping a lot and things like that. Like, this is another one that we're going to have to wait and see. Like, what if we end up in the meta at the time because of nerfs or adjustments they make where, like, Scar decks are huge and we're really focused on playing 1 card per turn, or like Super Giant comes back. But there's plenty of ways this could turn into a card that, like, just as wrong place, wrong time. For example, when US Agent released, it was in like the height of the Kitty Pryde, Hitmonkey, Angela Bounce like era. So it was like, why do I want to have a card that hits 4, 5, or 6 cards for -3? I'm not seeing those right now. And then eventually it became so good. I think it was buffed back up to a -4 and had to be nerfed back down. So provided this releases during a meta where these cards are hitting and we want to be playing multiple cards per turn, playing lots of cheap stuff to boost up your Lockheed, to boost up your to this effect, this can be very powerful. Lin Lie Iron Fist. As a move enjoyer, I'm very excited about this. Is a 2/2 with the text on reveal, add the Sword of Fuxi to another location. The Sword of Fuxi is ongoing. If Lin Lie Iron Fist is here, he has +7 power. So on right away, this is like a Mr. Sinister, a 2/2, 2/2/2s across different locations. It is random. We don't know. Well, it's not random. We know it's just not this location. So there's a little bit of targeting. It's like the Hunger, or when you play a Horde card for the first, it goes somewhere else. So it's not next to him. So it's 2/2s, which isn't horrible, but Mr. Sinister isn't huge. And the benefit of Mr. Sinister is that you can buff him and do that. So the synergy here is that it wants you to move Lin Lie Iron Fist to the Sword of Fuxi, which will immediately turn this into, a combined 2/11. And it cannot be Shang-Chi because it still comes in 2/9. We're seeing a lot of Shang-Chi, and it's ongoing, so it's not weak to Shadow King. This feels like a really nice addition to move. The problem that I see a lot of people, people at the upper echelons of Infinite, including myself, can fall victim to like, move is just so good. You play Human Torch and you move it and it's a zillion power and you Juggernaut and you win. Like, people can overly simplify that, especially if they're playing at the very upper echelons of Infinite, where sometimes there's a more gentlemanly agreement of like, oh, we're not going to play this sort of deck. We're going to experiment more. When I know a lot of people who are trying move out are like, I hate this deck. I don't draw into Human Torch on 3 and I feel like I'm dead in the water. When Spider-Punk came out, he was a nice addition. He was that third reliable scaler, not Human Torch and Dagger, then Spider-Punk, Kraven, sort of a scaler. He was a nice addition. Lin Lie Iron Fist could easily be another addition to that deck. I don't know who we cut off the top of my head. Maybe if something gets nerfed, but like if Sparky Pearl, this is not going to happen. Sparky is still great, but like, I could see a world where you're cutting one of those cards to be able to squeeze in a Lin Lie, and then you're doing cloak stuff to move Lin Lie over there. You're using Ghost Spire. There's so many ways to activate this, and having a solid, 2/11 in a location that can't be hit by Shadow King just makes move counters have to be a little bit more dynamic. You can't just Shadow King it. You can't do that. I imagine in the new year, they will probably, based on the tenor of the OTA notes, do something to move to tone it down a little bit. But I as a move enjoyer, I'm very excited for this. I like a nice ongoing move card that is different from Hydra Stomper, which just cares a lot about how many cards have moved. I don't know if this goes into the like move many list, or if this goes into Prowler stuff, or if this is like a Human Torch move kind of card. But either way, as long as move isn't nerfed into the dirt and they don't like make Human Torch a 2/1 or something ridiculous, this probably is going to be a meta relevant card. And last but not least for right now is Fang Foom. This dragon here is a 7/12 with the text on reveal, gain the power of front row enemy cards here. I freaking love this card. I'm very excited for this. I love that it's a 7, so the condition is you have to do some kind of ramp. 12 on its own, we're not playing the Hulk in any deck, so that's not that. But sometimes, like this almost, I'm going to sound crazy here, this almost feels like a tech card in a weird way. Let's take a move deck when you're drawing poorly. Sometimes you're just like, I'm not doing anything here. You're playing up against a deck that's like the Shuri, not Shuri, the Surtur Sauron big guys deck. I'm like butchering the name of it because I do dislike playing that. Or even the Galactus First Steps, Storm War Machine Legion lockdown lists. There are some times where there's just like, we have got a giant, we're not playing a lot of cards, but I've jubileed into an Infinite, and now I'm not touching this location because I'm going to just win it. This is almost like a tech card against decks that play very few super high power cards. It's not a tech card against ongoing because it's the power. So it looks, if you're playing this into a lane that has you know, Victoria Hand and Captain Carter, you're not getting its abilities. If Victoria Hand and Captain Carter are both in the front row, you're just taking 8 power, which, you know, you're not going to swing a Moonstone location with that. So I like the limitation there. I love the idea that I could be playing, you know, maybe this goes into a deck with the other dragons here. That's their vision here. You're playing a small ball sort of game. You're buffing things up. They feel confident they've got one lane one because they've got their Infinite over there or whatever. You've hit this with Majestic Wingbeat. It's, you know, that's how you ramp into it. You ramp into it some other way, and it just swings locations with power without getting rid of the power. I think this is a really cool design. I love the kind of tech cardy nature of it, but I like that it has the 7 power or 7 cost condition. So there's no decks that just free roll this, except Erisham. Erisham gets to run this, but then it's harder to draw it. But it might randomly generate it, so you never know. Love this. Again, we have to see what kind of meta we're in. Maybe if everybody is really into these Lockheed lower cost Dragon of the Moon like afflict cards, then Fang Foom doesn't really do anything. But I am not a fan of playing against the, like, I'm playing 1 card per turn. Here's my Cull Obsidian. Here's my Ares. Here's my giant cards in a lane location. I'm gonna like lean into those. This just destroys those kind of decks without needing to be like a literal Shang-Chi 4/3 tech card, and I'm very excited for it. This is a really cool card. And with that, that's the look at the data mines right now. I think this has the potential to be an extremely powerful season. If you want to see more videos breaking down cards so you can save your resources, or in-depth deck guides into meta decks, or lower under the radar meta decks that you can still take and win, like the first Ghost Rider deck from Cougar that I covered earlier this week, subscribe. It's been a great time. We're having a lot of fun making content here. Please, if you want my insight on Marvel Snap cards, or if you have hyper specific questions about like what card you're going to get, leave a comment. I love talking about this, even if it has nothing to do with the data mines and you're just like, I just entered Series 3, what's the first Series 5 I should get? I will get in there and talk with you. If you don't even want to talk about Marvel Snap, you just want to talk about FLCL or 90s indie rock, or, you know, you have a recipe recommendation for like for chicken breast that you bring to work. I do that a lot. I get my chicken breast with my cold salads. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic here, but leave a comment. We'll talk about it. And yes, I've been Kicker of Elves. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.